Hi, this is Peggy at Headshots by Peggy Presents, and today I have a treat for you. I am here with Meredith Thomas, and we are going to have a lot of fun. She is an actor, a producer, and well, we'll get into all the fun things that she does. So first off, fun fact about Meredith, I think you are filming your 31st, 32nd Lifetime movie now, television movie now, right?
Right, yes, my 30, but who's counting? But
right.
My 31st.
Do you stop counting
movie.
at like 20, or where does that stop? Because
that's a good question. Maybe when I hit my age, I'll stop counting.
You'll stop counting.
Well, so that I just gave it. So I'm over 30. I just gave it away to the whole audience.
Gave it away. Actors never tell their age. I know. You probably oh, I play 25 to 35, right?
Sure. On Zoom, I mean, good lighting and. No, I've started to kind of embrace my age. Everybody told me I had some wonderful women that were mentors when I was in my 20s that had gone before me in the industry, and I thank goodness for them, because they really tried to keep me centered and tried to keep me calm. But when you're in your 20s, at least for me, everything made me anxious. So they kept saying, you're going to come into your own. You're going to come into your own in your 40s. You're going to come into your own. And you don't want to hear that when you're 25 and hungry and want to be on TV and all that silly stuff. But they were right. You know, I just needed to calm the F down and trust and just keep putting in the hours. And so they were right.
I think that's the thing. I mean, this is a crazy industry. And if you don't love it and you're not willing to put in the hours, it is not going to happen. There's no magic pill. Like, you just got to just keep showing up.
Yeah, just keep putting in the hours. And I didn't mind that. I kind of was, I just went and saw Tick, Tick, Boom for the second time. And they embrace this artist bohemian lifestyle. And for a long time, I was really into that. I was like into proving that I was struggling and that how hard it was to be an actor. And then you get to a point where you're like, it doesn't have to be this hard, and you don't have to prove to anyone how hard it is. Just, I was like, it could actually, how about you make it easy? You know what I mean? Like, so I love that. I mean, I definitely had the struggle, but now I'm like, okay, it doesn't have to be this hard. And that for all of life, let's just go with the flow. The next project is on its way. Just keep moving forward.
Well, and I think a lot of it is your mindset. Like, you can either hate the journey or love the journey, but the journey's still going to be there. So I think that's like, there are times that I have to just step back. This is I'll tell you this is what I'm working on right now. I am working on just having experiences, not labeling them good experiences or bad experiences, just allowing myself to feel whatever the experience is. So that's where I'm at right now.
I love it. It's just a bunch of moments that we string together, and in the end, it's a life. What is the name of the writer? I love this quote. I read it when I was in college, and she said, Annie Lamott, I think is that. So she said, how you spend your days is of course how you live your life. And so we usually get so caught up in yesterday and tomorrow, but how we spend today is how we live our life. So I love that.
So true. So true. So 31 television movies, that's a pretty big number. Like, that's pretty awesome. So how does that happen? Do you kind of get in with a group, like you kind of find your crew and they just keep calling you in? How does that happen? Because you see a lot of things where, you kind of have this pack, this producer likes this writer and this director and this actor, and they just kind of do stuff together. Is that kind of what happened?
That's pretty much what happened. I always credit this kind of television movie journey. I did like one maybe, but my big television movie break was, and that's came, just to put it in context, that was like 2016. So it wasn't like I was like a spring chicken when I started doing these television movies. I did a movie called A Christmas in Vermont, and that's with Chevy Chase, and I was a supporting role, nice supporting role, but it just evolved into something as Chevy got on board after the fact, and it already had an amazing cast: Abigail Hawk, Howard Hessman from WKRP in Cincinnati. I mean, it was an amazing group of people. And then all of a sudden Chevy comes on, and because Chevy came on, they wanted to expand his role. And so in turn, my role got expanded. So I was like, okay, thank you, Chevy Chase. So, and then it just kept expanding. Then I had a scene with Chevy's daughter as the waitress, and it was, so that became like a whole life. So this supporting role that I flew off to New York to do became a whole big other thing. And from that, the producers, the director, the production company, that was kind of their introduction, some of their introduction to my work. One of the producers I'd worked with before, and but it was their introduction to what I could do, I think. And then from there, it was just like, oh, I continued to audition, but they were like, oh, Meredith. And a lot of times I'd find out after the fact, they were like, oh yeah, no, we wanted you all the time. And I'm like, why did you make me audition then? Do you have any idea how stressful it is? That like, I'm like fighting for this role, and they're like, oh yeah, give it to Meredith. I'm like, no, just give it to me then. Like, I'm like, I want this role, and like rearranging my whole schedule. And they're like, yeah, we didn't even watch your tape. I'm like, But so that began the journey. And then from there, it was another one. And then some of these directors jump around to different Lifetime and television movies. So I was just lucky enough to kind of go along for the ride. And then it became like, oh, I feel like what also happened is, oh, she played this girl's, she was in this movie with this young man where he tied her up, and now she's going to be the mother-in-law in this one. And it just became this whole wonderful snowball of gathering people in the industry. I always say my whole career is just built on repeat customers. Like, okay, awesome. Let's work with her again. And so that's how it happened. And it's years of trying to just get hired and doing anything within reason that would get me in front of the camera. And the hours paid off. And like I said, my mentors were right. Just keep going. You will come into your own. Because I always had kind of this classic, when I was young, I kind of had always this classic face. So it was like, where do we put her? And at 20, you want to be doing everything that everybody else is doing. But it's just, I was looking at the girl who plays my daughter on this current film, and she's 18 years old. And I thought, she's amazing. If I were on this set at 18, I surely would have messed up everything. I surely would have messed up my whole career. I'm telling you, I needed all those years to find my way in the world so that I could then find my way in front of the camera.
But I love how your explanation of how all this came in lines up with the quote that you said in the beginning, like how you live your day. Every day you just showed up. Every day you lived your day. Every day you lived your best. You showed up on set. I imagine, because I know you're wonderful. I imagine you showed up and your wonderful self. You were helpful. You were kind. You knew your lines. You did your job. You showed up. And I think that just showing up and being kind and being present really is more important than people want to talk about. And it's like, why aren't we talking about show up and do your job? Like anybody else that goes to work and wants promotion, they show up and they do a really good job at their job, and they're decent to be around. And this industry, it takes so many people to make one project. It's not just 2 or 3 people. Like, we're talking lots and lots of people to make a movie, you know? And so if you're the person that shows up and you're nice, just be nice, you know, your lines, you know, just the basic stuff. I love that you have repeat customers because a lot of people don't. A lot of people in this industry don't work with the same people over and over. So that says a lot about you, a lot about your character, a lot about how you live your everyday.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've had to, it's learning that too, is that I tend to wear many hats, and remembering when you get on set, the job you're there to do. And I've been politely reminded by good friends slash producers to just, you don't have to be so helpful. Like there's someone on every set doing that, you know,
Right.
so and I imagine I imagine you're the same way. We're like, I can carry my own lights. I can do this. I'll do this. I'll do this. It's like, no, no, no. Let the people around you take care of you. Let them do their job, and just know what you're there to do. And that's been a learning experience too, because as you know, sometimes I'm wearing the producer hat, but most of the time in my career, I've wear the actor hat, but I'm always like, you know, I'm like, I'd be a great AD. I want to be yelling quiet on the set, and I want to be getting this person their water. And then I also, and it's like, no, 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 do the job you were hired to do today. Do it well. And you'll get to wear that hat another time. And it's been interesting. It's been interesting walking into kind of trudging into the producer role, because actors were so used to being the center of attention. And it was kind of fun for me to like step back and be like, let me focus on everyone else. Like, let me shine the light on them. Let me be their cheerleader, which I've always been, like the cheerleader for everyone. So let me be their cheerleader for a minute and step back, and learning how to do that has been awesome too.
So let's talk about that. How did you grow into that? How did you step into that?
Well, initially it was just kind of on my own projects, which you see all the time. So, you know, I either, which I realize now happens a lot more than we realize, is like after the fact coming in as a producer. So I would be in the project, and then after the fact come in and say, here's what I'd like to do. Here's what I feel like I can offer. Here's the path I feel like I can bring this project on. Would you be willing to work with me in this capacity? And then, so it would almost like post-production producer. But so initially it was on projects that I was already involved in, and then I brought something additional other than just being the talent. I said, I can bring this to the game. And then, so that was initially, and then after that, I just started kind of jumping in for other people's projects, like, and saying, you know what, I think this is how this could be, and this is what you should do, and how. And so so there's a couple that I am not in, just a handful that I'm not in, but it was really seeing where it could go, and feeling like I was the person to take it there. For example, with Stacks, Gerald Webb and I have worked together in a bunch of capacities over the years. And he, in addition to being an actor, is casting and producing. And now this was his first time directing. So I just was so excited to be a part of something that was shot during COVID, that had an all African-American cast, that it was just the potential. I saw some like amazing potential, and I wanted to get eyes on it. And so I thought I was like, I feel like I can do that with this project. Like I can get it. And so that's how that, I mean, so I was really more like in post-production. Like once I saw the vision, I was like, this is wonderful. Let's get this out into the world. So, and I like producing. I like I like using that part of my brain. Because strangely enough, that business side of my brain calms down the creative side of my brain. So, so when I could get into business, because it's emotionally, I know you're married to an actor, you know this, it's emotionally draining with all, why we're actors is we have them all so readily available. And sometimes I just need that a part, what is it, the right side of my brain to just calm down, that creative side. Let me do this. Let me put producer hat on and not feel so much in this very moment. Let me pretend I'm in a cubicle.
Let me just do yeah, exactly. Do the clerical work for a second.
Yeah.
That's really good. Well, I've seen you at several events, and I see you at the Television Academy events, but usually when I'm around you, it's because you are actively producing an event, you're doing something. And I always notice that about you, because I'm somewhat the same way. I'm at my happiest when there's 15,000 things going on at once. I'm much more productive. You know, ask a busy person to do something. They're the ones that will get it done. That's literally like me. And I see that in you. I see you're always like, I'm like, I wonder what it'd be like to have coffee with her. Like, I don't know, because like,
I tell you what it would be like. Lots of incomplete thoughts and sentences, because we would be like, oh yeah, that's this.
So I can see that though. And that's, you know, when I first started working with actors, and then of course, when I first met Merrick, I didn't understand how deep actors feel. Like a good actor really is in touch with their emotions on all the time, on all levels. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting to live with an actor, let alone, I'm sure, to actually be an actor.
To live in an actor.
To live in that, because sometimes it's like, wow. So I do understand what you're saying. Like it's, you know, and Merrick's a spreadsheet type of guy too. So like, I think that's where he escapes. He's like, you know, ask him who he auditioned for like 2 years ago. He can pull that up on a spreadsheet, like it's somewhere. But I think that's gives you I guess a leg up, because you totally understand from an actor's point of view. So when you get involved in producing a product, you get a project, you get so involved in it, you know what that means to every person in the project. It's not just like, oh yeah, it's a project, blah, blah, blah. You understand the hours and the work that goes on behind the scenes to make that thing special and amazing. So I think that's a really fun way to come at it. And I think that's why a lot of actors step into the producing, you know, part of it, because it makes sense, because you've already poured your entire heart and soul and emotions into it, to like, hey, let's all see this. This is awesome. We got to get this out to the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, a producer, you like, as Gerald kind of said to me, it's like producer, like when, you know, you're doing everything from, you know, changing the toilet paper to, because and like what you say we see at events, it's like, yeah, I mean, you're doing everything from making sure somebody doesn't trip on the red carpet to, you know, phone going off and so it's yeah, I do like that energy. And again, it combines my producer, it combines both sides of my brain. But yeah, it's been totally fun. And I think that being able to step out and go, like with, for example, with FYC Independence, how that was created, is I had, for Christmas in Vermont, I had put that, it was my first time that I put anything on the Emmy ballot. And I was just terrified. I was like, who the heck do you think you are that you could? And then I was like, you are an actress in a Chevy Chase film. Okay, do it, just do it. And I did. And it was terrifying to put myself out there in that way. And then I saw the need from that year for some sort of a platform to give independent artists that didn't have the money backing. For, you know, just to get an example, you know, that was an Ion Christmas movie. It did very well, but Ion wasn't backing my Emmy campaign. So most of the things that people see, as you know, and on TV and that do get nominated, they have been backed by their network. And so they're produced, and so there's a lot of money that goes into getting eyes on that project. So I thought, well, there's a need here to showcase the independent artists. And so I did that. And then that year, like 2017, I envisioned putting my work in front of people and how it would be. And as you know, at the time I was, in layman's terms, I was the vice president of the Van Nuys Reseda Elks Lodge here in Los Angeles. And then now the past couple of years, I've been the president, in layman's terms, called exalted ruler. But back then I envisioned, like, I have this amazing space. It's a charity. How can we do something? And honestly, Peggy, the original vision was just for myself. Like, how can I invite people to see my work, so I can, get more attention on the Emmy, during the Emmy race. And then 2018 comes along and I was like, well, that's no fun, just doing it for me. Let me see who else wants to join the party. And I remember when I sent that first email, I was just like, they're going to be like, you have a venue in the Valley. Who are you? What are you? And I created the Facebook group and then sent an initial email to people. And I was just like, I was like thinking, no one's going to join my group. No one's going to. And then, it's spiraled into red carpet, standing room only event. And I don't know, we put up 25 people and like 20 of them were women and people of color and disabled actresses. And I was like, so that little vision of like, how can I help myself? How can I get eyes on me? I was like, it's no fun to do it by yourself. It's no fun to just sit there and go, oh, look at me, look at me. I mean, I know that's shocking to hear an actor say that, but so it became the most amazing part of that year. And did I get a nomination? No. Was it fun to watch 5 fellow independents get nominations? Hell yes. It was the best thing I did that year. I don't even remember what I put on the ballot that year. I remember the 5 people and the people I remember that night in standing room only. So maybe that was really the beginning of the producing and going, it's much better if it's if we share.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is amazing. Because I think a lot of actors don't fully understand how the Television Academy works, how the Emmy nomination process works. And if they're not already a full voting member, then a lot of them are probably completely lost. But, actors can submit their own work. I mean, it does take money and it does take time. And you have created this amazing group for independent actors that have amazing work that hey, this should have eyes on it. Let's get eyes on this. Let's let people see it. And it's just amazing. Every time I've attended any of your groups, you've given me the honor to do red carpet a few times. And any time that I've been able to attend your events, they're always just fabulous. And because, I do events and I have 20 some odd years of events, and, it's, to say that your event is just as flashy as any other event, it's, high, it's standard. It's nice. Everything is amazing and fun, and the people are all great, and you're always running around, making.
Yes, I'm always in my element.
Not dropping cakes.
Not dropping cakes. Peggy, I swear we need to, those, where you take pictures and you flip them. If you could literally take your photos and do like a photo book of and then Kim's and JC's, Kim Estes and JC O'Connell's faces as O'Connell Henning had her actress name. As their faces as you see. And I was just determined in my 5-inch heels and my tight dress that I was just determined. No, and you can see me. I don't need help. Like Cleve coming in, trying to help me out. I don't need help. Like, and everyone in the room that spoke to me is like, oh, we thought for sure that cake was going down.
Kim Estes was on the show 2 weeks ago. So they all already, we talked about the cake on the show already. So now that we didn't say your name, but now if I have viewers that are watching, they'll know. And I was like, listen, I had a front row seat to this. Like that cake was going to be all over me. Like I was the one who was going to get the cake in the face.
And the crazy thing is that cake was so delicious. We didn't have one piece left. Like I am so glad that I am not the girl to, and you know what, knowing me, they would have been like, oh, Meredith just thinks she's Lucille Ball and she did it on purpose, right? You know, like somehow it would have come out that like, you know, but the funny thing is that I'm like big on quotes, they stick in my brain, and like I watched on like Growing Pains, whatever years ago, Michael J. Fox character says to his parents, I don't need something to fall back on. If you're going to fall back, you know, if you're going to have a fallback, you might as well fall back. So that is stuck in my mind for my whole life. But here's the crazy thing. I didn't know that JC O'Connell had another cake. I should keep O'Connell Henning, JC Henning, who's her actress name, had another cake in her car because she knew Kim also liked another client, I can't think of it now. And then I was a little afraid we were going to run out of cake. So I had another whole sheet cake that I had taken out. So we would have been fine,
So
but
that would have
but I
won the
should have
cake.
never
Everyone
had a
would have
fall.
still got cake.
Yeah, but I should have never had that fallback plan, because that darn white cake sitting in the kitchen, I swear to it has nothing to do with my 4-inch heels and tight dress. It was clearly that I had a fallback plan.
Well, I don't know how you didn't drop that cake. Like the laws of gravity and physics said that cake should have.
Oh, you could see that because it was much heavier than you would imagine. And that was my control freak, Peggy. I was so determined that I don't bring it out there with that plastic tray underneath. Like people thought I baked it. Like I was gonna clearly I didn't bake it, but I was like so determined as a control freak that plastic tray don't go out there. It was just tacky. The supermarket tray cannot go out there. So I'm like, just go with the flow, Meredith. Just like stop. But yeah, it was much heavier, and I could feel that.
Well, you looked very graceful, and I personally appreciate that you didn't drop it. However, I was just like, all right, well, if the cake gets on the camera, it'll be a really funny story. So here we go.
And it would have, and people were
still a funny story because it's made my podcast twice.
Okay, yeah. Well, you can tell I appreciate. I as this a former and sometimes stand-up comic, you can tell I appreciate being self-deprecating. So the first thing I did, as you saw, is took me wrestling with cake and made it my cover photo, because that's like the best picture of the night. Is like,
yeah, it was so funny. It was so great.
That's awesome.
But seriously, again, that just goes to, to talk to your professionalism and like, all right, so let's go. I roll with it. Let's go. So,
Yeah, it was.
But what a fun event it was.
Fun.
And, as is everything that you put together. I've never been to anything that your name was attached to that just wasn't fabulous. So.
Thank you. That's a high compliment. Yeah, especially when we're it's all for charity, so we're being super budgety. So it's always budgety, and I never want to charge the actors very much money. Like the first year, the actors could do it for free, and like I think we did $50 if they wanted to be on the red carpet, like wanted their logo. And then the next year I didn't want to go up very much. So I was like, okay, $50 a clip, $90 if you like. I didn't want it to be, I wanted to, so everybody that wanted to could participate in some way. So, and then being able to write a check to charity after something that fun is just, cherry on the non-dropped cake.
Right. So what charities do you personally, what are you personally involved in? I'm always about the cause. Like, let's talk
Right.
about the cause. Let's talk
Okay.
about it.
So there's a lot. So, okay. So, I've, for a number of years, 5, 6 years, I've mentored with the Young Storytellers Foundation, which goes into public schools in Los Angeles and mentors fifth graders in script writing. And then at the end of the semester, we bring in all our professional actors friends and we put on a big show in the auditorium. It's been
Oh,
a
how
little
fun.
different in COVID times, but it's a fantastic organization. So that's one of the things. I'm also a huge animal rescuer. I'm not the rescuer. I'm the one that takes them. I guess I'm a professional foster. So my current baby came from my current cat baby came from my best friend's charity, which is called Kit Crusaders. And she pulls from high kill shelters and hoarding situations in Los Angeles. And then I am on foster dog number 11 of the pandemic, who I should say is no longer foster dog. She was a hard to find a home for case. She had a lot of troubles and problems from her traumatic 8 years in Tijuana. So I also, foster, so she's a foster fail, but the animal rescue mission, my friend Shira, who I've known for years as an actress, runs that. And it's a fantastic organization rescuing dogs. And every time I find an animal a home, a part of me just cries, but then I stalk them on social media. And I fully tell their parents, I will be stalking your dog for the rest of I'm the crazy foster mom. And then of course, the Van Nuys Reseda Elks Lodge, our big, where our heart is and where a bulk of our money from our lodge goes to is working with veterans. We are giving 150 bags of brand new clothing, underwear, socks, sweatshirts, sweatpants to veterans this year. We are giving lots and lots of canned food, and if we do like last year, maybe 300 chickens to Valley food pantries. And then, as you know, another close to our heart, we have the Purple Pig charity, is what we call it, the Purple Pig, because you put your coins in the Purple Pig. But that charity helps disabled children in California and Hawaii, and we fund full-time physical therapists to go into the homes and work with disabled children. So it's kind of like my acting style, cafeteria style. I bring a different technique to every project because every project's different. So I'm kind of a cafeteria style giver. I just kind of go where there's a need and where there's an opportunity at that any given time. And but I always said I wanted to help animals and children and growing up, and so that's kind of where I am.
I love that. And I appreciate that about you because, like I said, I'm all about the causes. On my website, because I'm a photographer, there is a button that says the bigger picture. And that takes you to, because Merrick and I are both really adamant about what are we here for? Like, if we're not here to help others.
Right.
And I think that's how you live your life. That's how you started your group, was like, hey, this is fun, but I could help all the other actors that are doing the same thing as I'm doing. And I got this space and I got these ideas. And
Right.
and I just feel like when we stop looking at me and start looking at the bigger picture,
Right.
we actually accelerate ourselves because we're pulling others up with us, and therefore, we all kind of grow together. So I love that about you. I really, really deeply appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
And so I did want to talk about that. So I'm really glad that you shared that. What tips or tricks or what share would you like our viewers to know? Pieces of wisdom from Meredith.
Okay, they'll probably be pretty simple. I do this at the gym. I when it's particularly hard, I'm like, just keep moving. because sometimes I'm like, I cannot do that without hurting myself. I'm not going to but I'm like, okay, don't do that, but just keep moving. And you said it before, this industry can be, it can be devastating to your psyche if you allow it. So if you love it, know that there's a place for you in this place. I just don't believe that we're given something that we're so passionate and that we love, and then it is not meant for us. And then if you discover that you no longer love it or it no longer makes you happy, don't be afraid to change course. And even within the industry, I never sat home and said, I'm going to be a stand-up comic, but I got led in that way and fell in love with it. I never said, I want to be a producer too. I really didn't. And I never said I wanted to be a director, but the industry, be open to where it leads you there. And if there's something else in this industry or in life that will make you happy, it's not a failure to move in that direction. And I think we spend so much time like fighting against what maybe the flow, what the flow is telling us. Hey, if you move this way, it's not going to be that painful. And yet we're like, no, it's supposed to be painful. No. It doesn't have to be painful. It could be actually quite joyous if you stop resisting how you think it's supposed to look. I didn't watch Lifetime movies as a kid. We didn't have cable. I didn't know what those were. But then when the opportunities came about, or Christmas movies, but when the opportunity came about, I just was like, yes, and let's see where this guides you. So I would just say, be willing to take that debate. If it's not fun, if it feels bad, maybe you're not supposed to do it, and that's okay. Just because you lose the illusion that it's supposed to look one way, and maybe that's painful, doesn't mean that on the other side of that pain, there isn't the life is exactly as it's supposed to look.
That's really good. And I've met a lot of people that thought they wanted to be actors and then realized they wanted to be directors, or thought they wanted to be actors and then realized, they thought one thing, and then once they got into it, they were like, oh, actually, I'm really good at this. For me, I've always done still photography, and the opportunity arose a few years ago for me to well, it wasn't even an opportunity. It was a, hey, our DP didn't show up. Can you do this? And I was like, yeah, I don't do video. Like, I used to be really cocky about it. I'd be like, I can tell my story in one frame. I don't need 50 frames per second. But I realized that actually this is really fun. This is something that I want to do, not full-time, not as a career, but this is definitely something I want to have knowledge of, and, maybe a little hobby, maybe do, stand in on some independent things and, just be there. And so, the more you learn, the more the universe can, I like just keep moving, because what's the quote, it's easier to steer a car that's moving than sitting still, or something like that.
Right.
But, just keep moving. I love that. I think I'm going to title this podcast, just keep moving.
It's funny you say that.
That's the quote that's going to stick.
It's funny because I just, a dear friend of mine, actor, we have been in the trenches together, different paths, but different roles and type of TV stuff, but we're in the trenches. And he just says, you're a girl that never stops. So it's funny that I would have to at the gym be like, just keep moving.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you hanging out with me today. And I know all of my viewers are loving this. So what is your favorite social media platform, and how can my viewers follow you?
Awesome. So I think, probably my favorite, because we're visual, is Instagram, but I'm pretty much the same everywhere, at Meredith Actress, on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. I think I love Facebook too, but I feel like I get to connect more with people I don't know Instagram, meet more, newer people. And Facebook is like all the awesome people that I do know, and I can go, oh yeah, we worked together on this and we did this and this. So, but at Meredith Actress pretty much everywhere.
Perfect. So follow her everywhere and like all of her stuff, leave her tons of comments and leave tons of comments on this video. And maybe we can talk her into coming back and being on the podcast again in a few months.
Ooh, maybe.
So I appreciate it. And please, if you are not following me, I've been a video show for over 5 years, but I'm now a podcast. So if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, make sure you subscribe, because podcast subscribers are really important to new podcasters. So I'm looking for that. Push that button. Push that button.
I know I have to. I don't know if I knew that. I better push that button.
Yes, push that button for me. I'm everywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. So, yes, as apparently they're telling me, make sure I get subscribers. So that's helpful. And of course, I'm on YouTube. So if you want to watch the video, and this is all over Facebook and everywhere else. But if you think this was valuable, which I know you do, make sure you share it. Sharing is caring. Thanks again. And most importantly, you guys have an amazing week, and I'll see you next week. Thanks, Meredith.
Thank you, Peggy. Have a good one.
Text or call today so that we can get you effective headshots that you can use as part of your marketing strategy. Headshots by Peggy. How can I help you?